I'm Denise.
She's a non-fiction editor, and I'm Louise.
She's a fiction editor. And together,
We're the Editing Podcast. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Editing Podcast. So this time around, we're going to chat about marketing, and in particular, how you might use a buddy system to help you along.
we are indeed. And we know that for many editors and proofreaders, doing that work of being visible is a genuine struggle. The marketing and promotion side of running a business can feel really overwhelming.
Absolutely. But a problem halved is a problem shared, they say, and nothing ever seems quite so difficult to navigate when you have a pal by your side. And so what we'd like to suggest is that if you're nervous about marketing, then don't do it alone.
Yeah, honestly, it can make such a difference. Louise, do you remember how nervous we were when we did the first few episodes of this podcast?
Yeah.
And we already had our websites up and running, and we were both seasoned bloggers. We'd been doing that for years, and yet,
And yet we were both a wreck, weren't we? I remember us sitting there on Zoom and discussing how nervous we felt but I guess the thing was, because we had each other, we had this sense of, oh, look, maybe it'll be awful and let's just feel awful together. And that made all the difference.
yeah, it was like, well, we stand or fall together. And
Yeah.
if it's a disaster, well, we can own the shame together. And if it goes well, we can celebrate together.
Yeah.
And if it's somewhere in the middle and we need to make some adjustments, that'll be work that we do together.
Together, yeah. And I think it's important that we're really clear about the fact that having a buddy on that venture didn't take away the nerves. It just made them bearable enough that they didn't become an obstacle.
Yeah, that's the thing. The anxiousness that we felt didn't stop us doing it. And that's the thing for a lot of editors who are nervous about marketing. They find it hard to get off the starting blocks because the negative feelings about it, well, they create a barrier and then that has an impact on how findable the editor is.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is chat about a few ideas on how to find a marketing buddy, and then we'll look at how you might help each other. So one way to find someone else interested in this might be an online forum. So maybe your editorial society has a forum or group space where members chat.
Yeah, so perhaps you could post in there asking if anyone would be interested in a buddy system or in forming a small group of, say, 4 people. And it would be worth making it clear that you're not looking for seasoned marketers. You're looking for people like you who are struggling with the overwhelm and want to offer and receive some structured support.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because the point of a buddy system is that you're in a safe space where you feel like it's okay to say, I find this really hard. And there's no sense of shame being experienced or a feeling that you're being left behind or you're not playing ball.
Yeah, that's the thing. The only potential problem I would say with established editing forums or, say, Facebook groups is that they're huge, absolutely massive.
Yeah, you might end up with 100 people clamoring to be your editorial marketing buddy.
Yes.
And then that might create its own overwhelm because you could end up feeling horrible about choosing some people over others.
Yeah, and I've seen that happen because I have seen people in these groups on occasion suggest exactly this. And then there's obviously a need for it because there's just like dozens of people underneath it in the comments saying, I'm interested, and then that creates its own problem as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And in that case, you just might not even know where to start with choosing someone because they may well be strangers to you. You may know their names, they may have interacted, but you don't necessarily know who they are and if they're a good fit. Because let's face it, just because you've got that shared fear of marketing in common, it doesn't mean that you necessarily want to spend time in a regular group with someone. So I suppose another option is to narrow it down by maybe focusing on people that you already know.
I think that's going to suit a lot of people in our field, particularly because there's quite a high proportion of introverts. So perhaps consider this. Does your regional editorial society have local chapters, branches, or groups? Because if they do, you could join one of those and get to know the editors there first.
Yeah, I think that's sensible because once you've got a sense of who everyone is and who you get on best with, that might then provide you with an opportunity to maybe have a conversation about marketing and form a subgroup or have regular one-to-ones with someone who's in the same position as you.
Yeah, it takes away that whole stranger thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Another option is events like conferences and professional development days. Those are good ways to meet other people who you have a business in common with. And if they're interested in doing editorial training, they might be equally interested in developing skills that will make them more visible. Plus, they're often smaller spaces than forums, so a bit more manageable, a bit like local chapters or branches of your editorial society.
Yeah, and if there's a session on marketing at an event, you can rest assured that the other people attending are as interested as you are in the topic,
Mm.
and that a few of them might be itching for colleagues to hook up with and build confidence. Those could be good people to strike up a conversation with too, and you can test the temperature regarding a buddy system.
Yeah, so let's imagine you found your editorial marketing buddy or buddies.
Mm.
How might you help each other? So perhaps you could agree to meet once a month in person or via Zoom or Teams or whatever to help each other with marketing and business promotion.
Yeah, and it could work a bit like an accountability group, but it would be focused on business promotion. And there's a ton of ways in which you might support each other. So the first is what we said before about creating a space in which you're actually allowed to be nervous about marketing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Although I do think you and your buddy need to have a joint goal for making sure that while you're acknowledging that fear, you're also agreeing that you're going to help each other do business promotion stuff anyway. So maybe a way into that is to start by talking about the kinds of marketing you've been thinking you'd like to do if you didn't feel so overwhelmed by it all and think that you're someone who hates marketing.
Yes, I agree. You're not allowed to just talk in circles about how much you hate marketing. That
Yeah,
doesn't get you
yeah.
anywhere. So maybe one of you wants to do more content marketing, or you might both be keen to work on some copy for your website's homepage. Or maybe you and your buddy aren't even sure what kinds of marketing would work best, and you decide you need to do some more research based on your client base.
And actually, perhaps you could agree each to read a different book about editorial marketing, or you could watch some YouTube videos or listen to some podcast episodes together and see if that gets the ideas flowing and gives you something to discuss.
And the thing to remember here is not to rush. Reading, watching, or listening is research, it's promotion planning,
Mm,
and it
mm.
will mean that you make good decisions together about what's right for each of you. And then, once you've made some decisions about what you'd like to actually do, perhaps work together on making a schedule.
And be kind to yourself and realistic about what you can do given your other work and personal commitments. So this you could do like maybe this one thing this month and a second thing the month after that, for example. So,
Mhm.
I mean, let's have a chat about some of the nitty-gritty things that you might work on together.
Yeah, good idea. So, again, not all of these things might be your wheelhouse, they're just examples.
Mhm.
So, perhaps you might want to write your first ever blog post. Maybe you could ask your buddy to review it and proofread it.
And give you some constructive feedback on its readability. So, are the paragraphs short enough that they won't look like a wall of text on a phone? And does the content feel like it's aimed well at its target audience? Is the title engaging and SEO friendly? That kind of thing. You can just have a chat about it.
Yeah, and you could do the same thing for each other with particular pages of your websites and
Yeah.
consider whether the page content is interesting and findable and visually engaging.
Yeah, and the same thing could apply to any directories you advertise in. Check each other's and talk about how you can improve them. Another thing you could do is explore tools and apps that you can use for your business, like Canva, for example, a really nifty design tool for non-designers.
Yeah, so that's a good example of something that's easy to use, but probably doesn't seem that way until
Mm,
you've had a chance to play around with it.
yeah.
So maybe you could watch some free video tutorials together.
Yeah, and then you could discuss how you might use it for your business, maybe business cards or booklets, or for images in reports or presentations, or for graphics on your website. But whatever, you're both learning how to use it and then helping each other work out how to apply what you've learned.
Yeah, it's the application that's the important thing, isn't
Hmm.
it? So another thing you could do is consider whether there are networking or publishing events that you could attend, and even whether you might go together or meet up at them. Networking can be really valuable, but we all know it can also feel a bit daunting if you're not sure that there are going to be any friendly faces there.
That's so true. Just having one person to sit with during a meal or approach an exhibitor stand with or participate in a session with can help reduce those jitters.
Yeah, because even the most extroverted people often prefer to do things with someone else. But for those who are shy or more introverted, it can be an absolute game changer.
Yeah, it really can. Another thing to consider is joint presentations with your marketing buddy. Presenting an event is something else that can feel overwhelming for some people. That's the way I went about it the first time I presented at a conference. I did it with 2 other people. And then the second time I did it with 1 other person. And then the third time I did it on my own.
Exactly. And while joint presentations don't eradicate nerves, they can make the difference between being able to do it and not doing it.
Yeah.
Plus, that way, you're both making yourselves and your skills visible, but you're not alone.
Yeah. Well, so look, we've only just scratched the surface here in terms of what the opportunities are, but the bottom line is this: something marketing related that can be explored and carried out by one person can usually be done with 2 people.
Yeah. And having a buddy on your arm might just make the difference between standing still with your marketing and moving forward with it. The buddy system is all about building confidence, finding the courage to do business promotion.
Yeah, and to walking a pathway that embeds marketing in the running of your business on a regular basis, whichever methods you choose to pursue.
Yeah, so that's it from us this week. Thank you once again for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode.
Now, if you'd like to help support the Editing Podcast, we've got a couple of options for you. The first is that you can tip us with a one-off donation of your choosing.
Or you can join our Patreon community. All our patrons get exclusive access to a huge batch of transcripts.
Both the links are in the show notes. In the meantime, she's been Denise.
And she's been Louise. Join us again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.